so that's a great starting point.
Okay.
If you could just explain the plant-based minerals and what makes them different, because I would guess for some people that's a new term, or they don't understand the differentiation.
Yeah, in fact, some people, it's like plant-based minerals, like, we all grew up with animal, vegetable, mineral.
Right, as separate categories, yeah.
So what could plant-based minerals be? So where they come from, imagine an entire rainforest that decomposed over millennia into this mineral-rich substance. It's called humate. It's like literally the energy of an entire rainforest in this substance. And out of that we take these molecules called humic and fulvic. But the beautiful thing about them is they provide like all the minerals that the body needs, formulated in the ratios by nature, in the ratios that your body utilizes minerals. But they also provide the delivery system of the minerals into the cells. And that's what's so cool. So they literally take mineral supplementation and turn it on its head, rather than thinking that we know what our body needs and somebody said we need 320 milligrams of magnesium or whatever, and trying to hack our bodies. Instead, we're going to infuse all of the minerals in these natural ratios and allow its infinite wisdom to have what it needs, when it needs it, where it needs it, how it needs it.
Yeah, I say so often, like, our body is designed to heal and to exist in a state of optimal health. And if it's not, those symptoms are amazing because they're telling us something. And it's what is it our body need that we're not getting or have too much of that we need to just be aware of. And it seems like in the past 700 podcasts, minerals become such a recurring theme.
Yes.
And they're so vital. And we've all heard, it's hard to get them, or some would say impossible now, through food alone. Even if you ate all day long, it would be hard to get enough from food. And so I love when there's a solution, like you said, that works synergistically with what we know that the body is designed to heal. It's not overriding that. It's not doing it for the body.
Right.
It's giving the body what it needs.
Right. And the thing about the plant-based minerals is it's actually ancient wisdom, because, and I'm talking about well before humans ever existed, because it's actually what the body is evolved to utilize. Like all cellular systems on Earth, what do they use for mineral replenishment into their cells? Humic and fulvic. All the plants outside, all the trees, a huge redwood tree, the mycelium that are in the soil, what are they delivering to the roots? Humic and fulvic. That's
so fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So, we were talking about the athletes and what's the difference, between like taking salt-based electrolytes, what we call our macro minerals, and taking something like a plant-based mineral. And I'm kind of on a mission with athletes in particular, because so many athletes come to me with terrible cramping, hydration issues, a feeling that they're always depleted. And I say, okay, do you take electrolytes? They say, oh yeah, I chug those all the time. I'm like, okay, I want you to stop. Because what's happening is our bodies, if you think about it, we drink fresh water. If you drink salt water, what happens? It actually makes you feel funky in the stomach. If you drink a glass of salt water, it'll make your stomach feel bad. And if you use salt-based electrolytes on a regular basis, it actually irritates the lining of the bladder and kidney. And then what happens? You start urinating more. So now you're irrigating rather than hydrating. Water needs to get into your cells to be actually hydrating your muscles and your tissues. You see? So instead of, like the runoff when they're irrigating a field, you want it to actually get into your body, so you want to hydrate. So the first thing I tell them is stop taking those salt-based electrolytes completely and just use plant-based fulvic and humic. You're going to use the fulvic for your main electrolyte replenishment, and you're going to use the humic for all the micronutrients that you're depleting regularly in your workouts. And the humic is also going to improve hydration because it increases cell wall permeability. So it supports getting the water into your cells. So these two together, literally they come back to me and they're like, you saved my freaking life. My experience is so different. For the first time, they feel hydrated, they feel replenished, and they're not having any cramping or fasciculation or anything like that.
I bet that is noticeable more quickly with athletes too, because I read the stat once that athletes or people who live in very hot climates will, through sweat, lose more minerals in 5 years than the average person in a lifetime if they're sedentary. So I bet they see an effect really, really rapidly.
Really, really rapidly. In fact, so we have an example is a cyclist that I work with over in Grand Junction area. He's a mountain biking, he's older, but he's high performance guy. So he came to us, he had really bad cramping. I said, stop the electrolytes, forget that, just use these. He did that, all his cramping went away. But then he went through the winter, spring came, he started doing some intense training runs because he's going to do a race. And he's like, well, I'm going to need some extra magnesium. So he took magnesium citrate, came home, cramps immediately that night. He's like, wow, that was a really hard run. Maybe I need to take more magnesium. Cramps even worse, and fasciculation. They call it the creepy crawlies. And he called me up. He's like, what's happening? And I said, well, what are you doing? And he said, well, I took some magnesium. I'm like, why? He's like, well, I thought I needed some more. And I said, no, that just threw your body into imbalance. So people think cramping is low magnesium, but it can also be due to phosphorus. It can also be due to the ratio of magnesium to potassium or calcium. So minerals work in balanced pairs or triumvirates. So you're always trying to create balance. Yeah.
That makes sense. Would your recommendation then be like salt food to taste if people like the taste of salt? Or
yes, just use salt. Exactly. You get plenty of sodium from the foods you eat. And yeah, use your pink Himalayan salt when you're cooking and on your food. But you do not need to drink salt-based electrolytes every day. And in fact, they are exacerbating your hydration issues.
That makes sense. Yeah. And I think the other advantage that I've noticed, I just started testing with your minerals, but they are relatively tasteless and easy to integrate into your lifestyle. So for a mom, that's helpful because, often many of the health recommendations are things that are a higher barrier to entry or kids will simply not do. And I'm a big fan of respecting my kids' autonomy, so I'm not going to force those things.
I'm with you.
But this can be easily added to anything that's liquid, and they don't seem to mind it.
I always say if your kids take something that you're suggesting to them, then it's a true example. And both my sons, they religiously take the minerals. They're 24 and 26. And they have really, really helped. My younger son, he wasn't taking them, but he watched his older son start to get really beefy at the gym. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I don't know. I'm taking Mom's minerals. So he started, and now he's like really starting to fill out.
That's awesome. And when it's their choice, then it
sticks.
Yes,
and when it's their choice, exactly. For kids who are in such developmental stages, and so many young people are dealing with brain fog. We did actually a great little kind of study with a group of kids at Berkeley, and they did a health class, and we asked them for 2 months to not take any other salt-based electrolytes and just use our minerals. And we got so many, there were 50 kids, we had so many reports of them coming back and going, I can't believe it, like I can study again. Like I'm in class and I can pay attention, even if it's a morning class, like the brain fog starts to clear. So cool.
Which makes sense. It goes back to that, giving the body what it needs and letting it do what it innately knows how to do.
Exactly. So thanks so much for just being interested in minerals and for the work that you do in bringing the message of minerals to so many people. It's like a foundational thing. I really believe like if we can get more Mother Earth in us, we can change the world.
I fully agree, and I think I'm so grateful every day I get to speak with moms because I think moms are a force of nature, and that when we help moms, we change society.
Thank you.